want to first tell a story. This is a story of a person who was Hindu. He was a father. He was himself a very religious person. He was somebody who, throughout his life, tried to take guidance from the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic scriptures. As a result of living a very good lifestyle, a nice mixture of both spirituality, but then also making sure that he achieved excellence in the world, he became quite successful. This man had several children, and they also, like himself, were Hindu. He had an elder son. This was the oldest son, the oldest child that he had. This son, very specifically, had always been a little bit of a problem child. He tended to be somewhat rebellious throughout his life, especially his teenage years. And despite the fact that his father was quite religious, the son himself wasn't. And thus, truthfully, in the back of his mind, he also didn't take his father very seriously. Well, one thing about this son, for years and years, he was really into sports cars. He had not owned one, but he would fantasize about them, and he knew everything about the latest cars, and he had thrown the strongest hint to his father that there was a specific car that he wanted. The car itself cost about $60,000, but his birthday was coming up. So he was expecting that maybe his father will actually buy him this car. In fact, his father had also kind of hinted, yes, son, don't worry, on your 18th birthday, something wonderful is going to happen. Well, the 18th birthday comes about, and his siblings give him gifts, friends give him gifts, his mother gives him gifts, everyone gives him gifts. Then finally, it is the turn of his father to give him a gift. His father gives him what seems to be a box. It's wrapped up very nicely in present paper. And the son is wondering, maybe it's a box and there are keys to my car in it. Well, he quickly rips off the gift wrapping, and to his horror, what he sees is that it is a hardcover Bhagavad Gita. And he looks at it, and the whole room goes silent because they can all see the disappointment in his face. And that disappointment turns to a little bit of anger even, and they all see this in his face. Well, after some time, he collects himself and he has his composure back. He looks to his father, and in a very insincere way, and indeed with a little bit of anger in his voice, he says, "Thanks, Dad. Thanks for this." And that ends the party because the son abruptly leaves. Well, soon after that, the son decides indeed to leave the family home. So several weeks after, he gets an apartment, he packs up his things, and very unexpectedly, he leaves. And he takes all of his possessions with him, and he makes sure to take that Bhagavad Gita just to maintain the bitterness in his heart. He throws the Bhagavad Gita violently into the back seat, and he drives off into his future. Years go by, and sadly the son never spoke to his father again. In the meantime, the son gained an education. The son ended up with a good job and making a good amount of money. The son ended up even getting married, expecting his first child on the way. 10 years had gone by, and in all that time he was so bitter toward his father that he did not speak to him. Well, one day he gets the call from his mother that his father had passed away. something strikes him. On the one hand, he still has this anger toward his father, that his father did not get him that sports car that he wanted for $60,000. But on the other hand, he loved his father, and he knew his father was a good man. So tears came to his eyes, and on thinking of what happened, he did cry. At that point, he remembered that Bhagavad Gita that he had had for all that time, and he decided, let me go look at that Bhagavad Gita once and for all. I never even opened it. He goes to the bookcase, he finds that Bhagavad Gita, and he takes it out. And he begins to peruse the pages of the Bhagavad Gita, and he looks at one verse that is profound in wisdom. And then he looks at another. And then as he's about to turn another page, he realizes there's something in between two of the pages of this book. And he opens those two specific pages. And he realizes there's something that is there. He sees that it is something like a note. And he opens it. And he sees it is a note. It's a note from his father. And the note says, "My son, I love you more than life itself. You have made me proud to be your father, and this is for you." And there was a check for $60,000. It is the nature of this world and the presence of God that we are indeed at all times surrounded by the blessings of God. This son was surrounded by blessings, given to him by God, given to him by those in his life who loved him. But very sadly, he did not recognize them. For an individual who is spiritually minded, for an individual who is sincere, for an individual who has the vision, who has the eyes to actually see, we are so fortunate to be surrounded by so many blessings. The vast majority of these blessings that are in our lives are not even recognized by us. It is a blessing that we have air to breathe. It is a blessing whenever we have food to eat. It is a blessing that we have water to drink. It is a blessing that we have anyone in our lives who love us. It is a blessing, it is a blessing, it is a blessing. He held on to that Bhagavad Gita as the most precious thing in his life. Thereafter, when we indeed recognize those blessings, it is at that point we then have gratitude.